Good morning, everyone. It is really tough to moderate a panel when you know that you're the first panel discussion early in the day, right? And we are in Hyderabad. We are very fond of the Hyderabadi culture. Hallu, hallu. In today's panel, we have got a very interesting mix of speakers coming from different industry and different area of interest. To my left, known figure in the startup ecosystem in Hyderabad, and I have a huge amount of respect for him, Abhay Deshpande. For people who don't know Abhay sold his company, Martjek, young dashing Anmol. Anmol runs two companies, one of them which he started 7-8 years back into solar solutions.
$1 billion question to understand at what point does the economics make sense, and how do you financially make it possible for a company to be sustainable, right? So if you're an early stage company, so like, let's say, even let me take solar, right? Solar was launched in India in 2008 timeframe. 7 and 8 is when it kind of took off. And at that point, if you're talking a lot about, the panel being disposed, everything else, it becomes very hard at that point as a value proposition to take up, right? You're trying to first make the first product itself financially economical for a consumer. So I think scale has brought today, and the solar is going to every home, and now we can talk about how can we make it a long-term solution, how can we ensure that when the panels are out of warranty, how do you take it back, how do you kind of dispose it of, the whole circular nature, that is what we're talking about today, right? So it's about timing, it's about scale, it is about the laws that are governing. So there's a lot that goes behind it. Of course, even investors today are focusing a lot on sustainability and economics of it. So I think it is more about scaling, timing of an organization before you can start saying that, I want to make my organization sustainable all the time. So, yeah.
Abhay, how do you define sustainability economics?
Thanks, Sandeep, for having us here. I think before going to sustainable economics, I would like to say what about sustainability itself. So sustainability, from my point of view, is nothing but a behavior. I think unless we change a mass level behavioral change, we are not going to really see the sustainable world coming in existence. Now coming back to the sustainability economics, nothing actually has changed. If you look at for last 100 years, the corporate world is talking about economical sustainability, right? And always that has been the focus, that the economical sustainability is important for their business. It has actually reversed 180 degree now. They're talking about sustainability economics. So I think every boardroom today is talking about sustainability. They wanted to really make sure that the business which they are doing is sustainable and at the same time it is taking care of the resources around. But does anybody has a clear idea about how the sustainability economics are going to pan out? I'm sure we are at an early stage of the journey. Sustainability is still evolving, and it will take a couple of years or 8 to 10 years for us to really understand what exactly the sustainability economics means and how it is going to pan out in the coming years.
Anmol, how do you define sustainability economics?
Hi. Thanks, Sandeep. I think personally for me, sustainable economics was the core of why we did Blue Smart. I think the founding principles of Blue Smart were around sustainable economics for people, planet, and prosperity. So how we defined it was that two key stakeholders for us at Blue Smart were our driver partners and the customers. So it needed to make sustainable economic sense for driver partners. We all know how driver partners as a community has been short-charged over the last about decade. So we wanted to ensure that they make a fairly equitable living, and that was very critical for us. So sustainable economics from a driver partner perspective. It also had to be sustainable for the world. So how can we use more greener resources, in our case electric vehicles, to make this business going. And lastly, we also wanted it to be sustainable for our own balance sheet and profit and loss account. I think a lot of people in the startup space forget about sustainability of their own balance sheets. So we said we are going to run a profitable business. We're not going to intensify cash burn, and there was no need for us to intensify cash burn. So we are going to keep it the profitable way and the sustainable way. I think sustainability of finance is important as well as when we talk about sustainability for the world. So people, planet, prosperity have been the guiding principles for Blue Smart when we were trying to build this.
On a lighter note, you're a very smart entrepreneur. On a topic like sustainability, you didn't miss an opportunity to take pot shot on Ola and Uber by saying that their driver partners were not taken care. I just want to do a small voting for, I want three of you to rate. Is the corporates, in real sense, serious about their responsibility towards the sustainability theme, right? In a grade of 1 to 10. Do you think it's just a buzzword? Many a times during Feb and March, there are a lot of corporates who will try to reach out to NGOs to say, look, we want to give you the money because they need a tick mark towards their contribution, the government guidelines, X percentage of top line towards their responsibility towards the social responsibility. Do you think they are really serious, or they're doing it because they just want to show that they are serious about it? In a 1 to 10, how serious are corporates about ESG and sustainability? I'll start with Anmol. You have to just rate out of 1 to 10.
Okay, I like to give 3 ratings.
Wow. 3?
Yeah, one is because there are 3 set of companies that I observe. One is large multinationals. I think large multinationals, 8 on 10 kind of a number. Large Indian, not conglomerates, but large Indian growing companies, I think they are believing in sustainability only if it is making economical sense. So for example, some of the companies have started to treat solar as sustainability, whereas we all know its cost of electrons, the cheapest cost of electrons, and not sustainability. Maybe Radhika can answer more on that.
Radhika, this is for you.
Yeah, so solar as sustainability, God man, we all do solar because it's cheap. It's not, sustainability is just an angle to it. And third is the Indian SME, which I think is almost in utter disregard.
Abhay, how do you rate?
So average, I will rate it 5. As I say, the multinationals are definitely looking at it seriously. But then there is a huge gap. As you rightly said, in Feb and March, a CEO of a multinational company comes on record and say, we'd like to be plastic neutral in next, say, 5 years. And they would like to put X investment around it. But when you start working with their procurement team, they just want to talk about 50 paisa or 25 paisa per kg, right? So there's a huge difference amongst the corporate itself that they say that sustainability is for the CEO. This is my KRA is to make sure that I save money for the company. So I think holistically, no corporate is really looking at it. Last 5 years has been years of eyewash. I can openly tell you that a lot of people have used plastic offsetting, carbon credits. A lot of eyewash has been happening. Green eyewash, I will call it as. But of late, I can say that that was the scenario till 1 year back. But thanks to the ESG focus and the kind of financial benefits the ESG is bringing on the table, I think the behavioral change has started happening, and we're seeing off late in last 6, 7 months, people are really serious about sustainability and wanted to really do some work and wanted to bring that organization level behavioral change into it.
See, I'm more interested, more than rating, I want to interested in his opinion that solar is not sustainable. First, you talk about what Anmol says, solar is not sustainable, and then you rate.
No, I didn't say solar is not
It's
sustainable. I
it's-
said solar.
that is not the main driver.
Yeah, I said that solar, people don't do solar for sustainability, they do
Exactly.
it for economics.
Exactly, exactly. Which is also true for mobility now, right? Because it makes economic sense. That is, but it's a feel-good factor. End of the day, if I have a homeowner that puts up solar and is able to see an electricity bill which is 200 rupees versus 7,000, 8,000, 10,000, they take a lot of pride in the fact that, you know, they have clear understanding of their energy mix consumption, which is unfortunate in India where you might be drawing 5%, 10%, 30% green power, but you don't have information on a daily basis or you don't have access to the energy mix of your consumption. But in a lot of other Western worlds, people do have an option to say, I want to sign up for 50% green power or 100% green power, and they're willing to pay premium. Unfortunately, in India, we are giving probably in like states like Maharashtra and Delhi, maybe 50% discount on their electricity bill. If they're paying, let's say, 10 rupees per unit or 12 rupees per unit of electricity, solar is at 2, 3 rupees or even lower for that matter. So it's a no-brainer. So to his point, my rating, I think I resonate with Anmol a lot. I think the challenge here is more than rating. I would say, yes, people are serious. People are very serious. Even young companies would like to show the sustainability aspect because investors are asking, consumers are asking, the laws are governing it. But the challenge is they don't know how to go about their options and how do they go and say, what can I do as a company? Let's say it's a software company. What can you do for sustainability? What is your ESG measure and how can you achieve it? What are my basket of options? Where can I? People keep confusing CSR with ESG. That's very different, both. So I feel that is where the challenge is, and we can start a marketplace for sustainability.
Thanks,
products.
Radhika. So, if you see, while ESG and sustainability is the buzzword, everyone is talking about it. But hardly any startups or any companies who started in last 5 to 10 years in this space have not able to be successful. If you ask anyone in this hall to name the top 5 sustainable companies, right, focusing pure ESG companies, they will talk about the green coast of the world who have a market cap of $8 to $10 billion. And they will talk about Renew Energy. But beyond that, they don't know, right? Are you seeing a serious problem in creating a brand for a startup company which is focusing on ESG and sustainability? Is brand building for a company in this segment a difficult task as compared to other startup sector? Anmol, you have done solar, you have done waste management, now you're doing electric mobility. What is your view about creating a brand for the startups who are in this space?
I think the time for this has come, and what we are seeing is that the earlier decade has got kind of more, more consumer things have got brand building has got done big on more bread butter things which have happened. I think people sustainability in a way in Maslow's will come slightly higher. So people in India have started to get to there now, and you will see a lot of very good brands coming in. I think in my head, you would see at least 10 super brands kind of on sustainability coming up in the next 3-4 years, and a lot of them are already doing a great job. So I expect that you will this notion around startups and sustainability not creating brands will not be a notion when we do a TIE conference 3 years later.
Thanks. Abhay, this question is very, very specific to you. I still remember I attended the TIE event in 2015. You were a poster boy for Hyderabad. You sold your startup for millions of dollars, which was a very, very, if I can say, a startup where more to do with internet, taking small shops online. From a very, very sophisticated wow business, you exited and then decided to get into a kabaddi business. A dramatic shift in from entrepreneurship. You were in a wow business with amazing appeal, brand value, and you decided to do a startup, your third startup. From the money you got, you started a very difficult, non-glamorous kabaddi business, if I can use that. Sorry, I'm using this word. What prompted you to get into this waste management startup?
So I think I agree that it is non-glamorous or a non-sexy business. When I exited my last startup, the first thing I decided to actually stay at home for 6 months because 15, 16 years of tough entrepreneurship, 86 investors, 135 tranches was not easy. But then the sixth day,
You needed 6 months to spend that money also, right?
no, no. The sixth day at home, I realized that it's difficult for me to sit at home. And most importantly, my family started feeling that their privacy was getting disturbed. So they never saw me at home for 6 days in a row. And I was thrown out of the home. I went back to the startup ecosystem, invested in a couple of startups, even thought of starting a $200 million fund, made some presentations. But during the process, I realized that I'm still a horse where people can bet rather than I betting on the horses. So decided to call off all the investment journey. And I was looking for the next big opportunity. And somewhere that instinct of an entrepreneur is that कचरे में पैसा दिखता है. Waste management looks like a big opportunity.
बोलिए कच्चे में पैसा दिखता है.
कचरे में पैसा
अच्छा,
दिखता
कचरे
है,
में पैसा.
right? There is the money in this space. And by then, I think we did some research, a lot of reports by CII, APT, and everywhere there were reports. But when I looked at the reports, it's just an extrapolation of somebody has done some survey in Gachibowli for 500 houses. They found 200 grams of plastic generated every month, and they did that 12 million metric plastic tonnage generated by it. Actually, the number is much, much, much higher. So then we realized that waste management में कुछ हो सकता है. We have to bring digital disruption into this space. Very informal, very cash driven. So we went and met a couple of guys in the space. And the first thing, when we met some kabadiwalas in Hyderabad, so the first answer, when they explained the model that we would like to bring you on internet, you should sell your material on internet. अच्छा, कचरे का Uber बना रहे हो. कचरे का Uber बना रहे हो. Now that was the reaction we got from many informal sector guys. And that's where we realized that, yes, India has arrived. Because post 2010, we as an Indian started consuming products, digital products. Till then, we were building products for Microsofts and Ubers of the world. That was a time where Uber came, Ola came, all we started consuming products ourselves. And these people also were the customers. So we said the time has come for this. And many people suggested me, why are you doing this? You have made decent money, do some charity or keep that money in bank. Why you want to burn? Kachre mein internet kaise aayega? All those inputs I got, but we said that this is nothing but kachra is nothing but a commodity. This is a resource. Although most of us look at it as a kachra, but it's actually a resource. There are 2% of Indian population gets food every day because somebody in their family is working in waste management. Neither IT also has such kind of impact. But they're at the bottom of the pyramid, exploited like very badly. They get only 20% of the value in the whole waste ecosystem. So we thought, can we change it? And luckily I made some money, and this time we wanted to build something which can solve a much larger problem, although very tough. But then and at the end of the day, it has an impact aspect into it. So when we go back today home and we channelize almost 1,500 metric tons per day, which doesn't go to ocean or landfill, it gives us a satisfaction that we have done something for the Mother Earth. And actually that purpose made us to really build this startup.
Thanks. Specific question to Anmol. What do you do? You know, I did some amount of sort of investigation trying to do my homework for this. I realized that your company, if I can use a very, very brutal language, is a राइड शेयरिंग कंपनी ओला उबर मेरू जो 10-15 साल से है. आप खाली एक इलेक्ट्रिक चीज़ वर्ड याद कर लिए इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी, दैट इज स्मार्ट कार्स. बी ऑनेस्ट, क्रॉस योर हार्ट, whether you would have got the funding $75 million and you are talking for some huge millions in further funding, आपके पास यदि ये mobility नहीं रहती, so you are not doing something which is people don't know, you are doing same Ola, Uber, Meru, what people have been doing for 15 years. You made that your fleet of cars are electric, right? Does this concept of bringing electric fleet car convinced the investor to invest, or there is a economic into it? Does the investor see that this model is going to work? Just wanted to own that.
I think all credit to the investors, they would have surely seen something. But what we believe is that with going electric, we were able to bring down the unit economics of BlueSmart and unit economics of any other ICE operator is at a delta of 40%, which means that when we can operate at 40% lower revenue, we can operate at 40% higher margins, which basically and in a much more sustainable way, which is where the world wants to go. So I think the whole money that investors are betting on with BlueSmart is more around the fact that this is going to be the only profitable ride-hail company perhaps in the world. You haven't seen ride-hail companies make a single dollar of money ever across the world. So perhaps looks like that we shall be the only one which will be doing it. And that's what I think gets in the investor interest into BlueSmart.
Amazing. Radhika, you are into solar, which is has been there for last 15, 20 years. Like if you tell someone that you are into a startup which deals with providing solar energy, they will think your company is one among the thousand, right? And very, very mundane and an old school of thought. Why did you decide to enter this business where you know that the solar business is hyper competitive? There is, yes, you bring technology to it. There is nothing, there is no entry barrier challenge and all. What made you think that this business will be profitable? Because this is nothing new. People have been doing it. The only thing is that you brought technology to it. Your thought?
Yeah, so we've started this 8 years ago. We were at least 6 to 7 years ahead of what our business plan was, in the sense that, the ideology was to get into the retail space back in 2014. However, the market was not ready at that point. So we did a lot of other commercial projects. We did a lot of ground mounts, large projects, which were all government. So yes, it's true that solar has been around for a very long time. But there are 2-3 problem statements that we were trying to address. One, if I ask, does anybody know a solar company at a retail home level? I don't think there is any company today in the market. So it's so fragmented, there's so low barriers to entry that there are a lot of companies very locally operating at a local scale with their local network. I think that is what we're trying to break out of and say that, how can I scale pan-India with an office in Hyderabad with a variable model? So technology has enabled us to do that, where I am giving a customer the comfort, like it's completely digitized, so they can look at what are their options to go solar, they can download the app, they get a complete pricing on it, they know the serviceability, they can track and monitor the system, because we're talking about a life of 25 years on the entire solar system. So everything is digitized, no matter you're in Nagpur or Bombay or Aurangabad, you're in Assam, Manipur, no matter which location a customer is in, we are giving a same journey for them through our technology platform. And I think that is what is disrupting, and we are also defining the standards of the system. Today, we don't have that, unfortunately, in India.
Saying there were a lot of B2B companies, but you were the first among the few to enter B2C, and that is your USP.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. While Anmol has raised millions of dollars from the investors and the private equity fund, I want to ask this to Ave, and I want to ask this to Radhika. How tough it is to convince these so-called VCs who are so used to seeing 10x, 15x returns from the internet-based startups, and now from SaaS-based startups, how tough it is to convince the investor to invest in a company like waste management, which is, as I said, non-glamorous. How difficult it is for you to convince the Sequoias of the world to invest in a business which I can say is there, have been existing except the B2C. Away, over to you.
So I think it was not easy. Waste management particularly is the new space. Thanks to Netflix and all the movies, general perception about this industry is that it is driven by mafia. Everyone working in this industry is a mafia, whether it is a rat picker to kabaddi wala.
There is a lot of truth in that, right?
There is not really. I think it's some truth definitely there, but it is exaggerated because of all the Netflix serials which people watch, and anybody in waste management being considered as mafia. So in our case, even though I had a success behind me, successful exit, I still ended up making 40 presentations. Otherwise, and the numbers were great, team was amazing, but the people were not getting conviction about the space. They were still thinking that, "Ye kaise hoga? How will people, circularity will come? Will people buy trash on internet? Will people buy trash on mobile?" Unheard of, naturally. But it was tough initially, but by the time the numbers were so good and people could not resist themselves, it was almost growing 30-40% month on month for a couple of years. That's something people could not ignore, although they had their apprehensions. And we found the right investor, Morgan Stanley. invested in our startup in the last round, and it was a decent round. And of late, now that was the first period, and once you get one guy who is trusting your vision, today we are like flooded with multiple offers, multiple people, and thankfully not just because of the numbers, because of the change in the behavior, sustainability has become a main driver and circularity, the material circularity plays a major role. So we have a lot of investor interest now because somebody has already trusted you, so the second round becomes much easier.
So I think we also have raised a small amount of money. This is actually answering your other question also, where why are sustainable companies that are focused on sustainability not able to scale? Which are the big brands? Why are they not becoming unicorns? Because I don't think a lot of private equity money has gone into it. It's primarily the impact investors, VCs that are, it's like a patient capital. So it's, you know, the term for them is much longer. They are much more patient with when they're looking at an exit, the returns that they're expecting, the way they're pushing, it's very different. So that's also one of the reasons why now a lot of the private equity and the VC funding have an entire climate tech focused platform itself. So everyone is looking at climate very seriously. So I think we will see, like BlueSmart, many other companies that will flourish in this, this time frame. We've raised some money from impact investors, and I think there are a lot of good impact investors out there. We've raised money from Schneider, we've raised money from Total groups, and it wasn't easy, and I think for them, they get a little bit caught up if I say I'm going to double, triple my revenues every year, because that is not at all their philosophy. They are looking at building a company with, you know, 20, 30% growth, 30, 40% growth. They're very comfortable and happy with that business model. So it also matters as to who's on your board and what happens and to how do you scale it. But right now we are getting very good interest, very good valuations because the market has taken off. Like I said, India is exactly 10 to 15 years back where US was, 15 years back where US was for residential market.
No,
So
thanks, Adhika. I can tell you, last 2-3 years, sustainability, ESG has been the top priority of all the global companies. At JLL, we have appointed a global sustainable officer for the first time. It happened 3 years back. This shows the importance of the entire stuff on sustainability and ESG. Last question, we have just under 3 minutes. And I think I'll request each one of you to spend 1 minute. What is your exit plans, right? On how do you want to exit your the company? Is it an IPO? Is it sort of selling it to div? Are you looking into that? And obviously, this will be difficult for you. And yeah, please go ahead, Anmol.
So it's only exit for the investors. I think the founders are not exiting anyway. So yep, whichever is the better route. I've had an experience of doing an IPO. Gensol did an IPO about 3 years back. It's been wonderful. Stock is up 2,500%. I would say stock market is a very exciting thing.
So should I buy Gensol stock?
No recommendations.
No inside trading, I suppose. Yeah.
But you know, I think it's an exciting. But only thing is that, you know, you should create some wealth for even the incoming investors. I think a lot of startups went wrong in that way, wherein I think they became greedy and just thought about the existing investors and not the incoming investors. I think that should never be the case.
Thanks, Anmol. Abhay?
So I think Recycle has been profitable for last 2 years and will be profitable going forward. So definitely one acquisition I have gone through. So for Recycle, IPO in 2025 is the target.
Before Radhika answers, you know, the so-called kachra became all of a sudden, you know, overnight, a very amazing, glamorous when Ramki sold majority stake, mostly 75-80%, to KKR for $1 billion valuation. Till that time, everyone used to say Ramki does, what it does is, you know, they go and handle waste management from the municipalities. Overnight, when it was in the economic times, $1 billion valuation, I think a lot of startups got motivation. I think thanks to Ramki has been struggling for 20 years, and they have proved that there is a profit in waste management. Radhika, your exit story.
there is no story yet, but I hope we are near that. We've got a lot of interest from large solar and non-solar conglomerates who are trying to be, again, sustainable, where we are the only solar company that is digitizing the customer journey, and we have a technology approach to customer acquisition. So I think IPO is also a good option. We are looking at it, both like Anmol said, it is for the investors, whatever works best for the investors.
No, thanks, Radhika. We have just 30 seconds. I'll just summarize that. We spoke about the unit economics. We spoke about how they are confident that there is profit in in the type of business they are running, whether it is waste management, whether it is electric mobility. And he said that they are going to be the world's first ride-sharing company which is profitable. So Uber is not profitable, Ola is not profitable. So all best wishes to you, Anmol, and let's take that pride that India is going to have the first profitable ride-sharing company. All my good wishes. Abhay, you have seen multiple success exits, so I wish you all the best for this. Let me tell you, the Kawadi business and the way Ramki has made this industry glamorous, and a lot of startup people have taken motivation from their story. And a lot of startups will take motivation from your success story. All the best. Radhika, very few I have seen women startup entrepreneurs who are so focused. I've been in this startup ecosystem for a while, so all the best. So we come to an end of this interesting discussion on sustainable economics. Thank you. Thanks a lot.